Hi, and welcome to our podcast. Today we're discussing if polls can be trusted. I am joined in the studio with none other than Ethan Cockman. Okay, and my name is Annalise West. Ethan, I have a very serious question for you.
Yes.
Can polls be trusted?
No, I don't think they can.
Why?
Well, because polls are able to, the problem with polls is they can be biased depending on where they take place, how the questions are phrased, and who's interviewing who.
No, I don't think so.
All right, why not?
Well, the thing is, polls are a representation of everyone, are they not?
In theory.
So then what makes it incorrect? Why I don't understand why they can't be trusted. If I go around asking everyone if they like vanilla ice cream and they all say no, I can just go ahead and assume no one likes the ice cream.
But the key thing is that's just all depends on the people that you're asking. I mean, I could get into a room and ask, say, it's like this. I could go into a room and I could ask 50 people whether they think a coin is going to land on heads or tails. They might all pick heads, but that doesn't mean that the majority of the population of the country would say heads. It might be dependent on where they live or how I ask the question. I could be like, "Do you think this is going to land on heads?" And nod my head yes a lot, or tails, and then shake my head. It all depends on how you ask the question here too.
Are you saying that the sample may be incorrect for the population someone's researching? So I guess what you're saying is if I go to China and ask everyone about something that I want to know about Americans, they wouldn't have the correct answer I'm looking for or any answer that I really am looking for because the sample's off.
I feel like they would have a really biased answer. It'd be like going to North Korea and asking them a question based around South Korea. They've been fed a very direct opinion of South Korea that most of the places don't have. So it's going to be biased depending on where they were raised and all that. But if you're looking for, I guess, if you're looking for a poll with bias, I suppose a poll would work for that. But for a poll like based around politics and based around like who's the next presidential candidate, it's a very it's a very delicate situation because you want to phrase it properly so it appeals to whoever you're asking and not so that way it doesn't become a mess.
Can I tell you a secret right now?
No. Yeah, you can.
And you can't tell anyone anything about this, but there's actually a name for what you're kind of describing, and it's called a push pull. Okay. Now let me tell you what a push pull
You
is.
don't have to ask. I don't even know what that is.
You don't even know what it is. Of course not. I guess you just didn't go to Miss Turkle's civics
I
class.
forgot.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So a push pull is a pull which makes someone lean towards a specific answer. So they word it so peculiarly, if
Mm-hmm.
that's a word, that you are forced to pick it almost. Then you feel, oh, well, they made the other answer sound bad, so I'm going to pick this answer. But let me tell you another secret. Are you ready?
Two secrets and one
Have
not.
you heard
Wow.
of the recency effect?
What is the recency effect?
I'm so glad you asked, Ethan Cockman. I'll tell you what it is. The recency effect is basically when you're asking a set of questions. I do this too. I kind of zone out a little bit. So they just hear the last one, right? So if I say, "What is your favorite ice cream?" and I tell you five options, you're going to pick the fifth because it's the most recent one you've heard. So that
Mm-hmm.
can make polls a little biased if you have, let's say, Joe Biden and then you have Ronald Reagan and then you have Barack Obama and then you have Trump. People are going to possibly pick Trump solely because he's the most recent one they've heard. Does that make sense?
That sounds like it would cause a lot of bias in a poll.
It that is one of the reasons polls can't be trusted.
Oh my god. Wait, didn't you agree that polls can be trusted?
No, I don't recall that. As the president would say, that was not me, that never happened. Oh, that is a direct quote from Bill Clinton.
He's got some real good quotes, let me tell you.
Yeah, I know. But why would someone even say that they can be trusted? It's so obvious they're so biased.
I don't know. I was wondering the exact same thing when some.
So there's just no rebuttal? Like, can you tell me what
Wait,
the other side would say? You might have it written down somewhere.
Oh, why polls could be trusted? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking about this one. So my thing about polls that can't be trusted, or wait, if polls can be trusted?
I would like to know why someone would argue that they can be trusted. Because it's so obvious they're biased.
So the thing about polls, the people that think that polls can be trusted is they honestly just want to believe that it's a good representation of what the numbers say. They want to believe that the public opinion is the opinion that's going to be accurate. It's like taking an exit poll or an entrance poll to a political thing, to a voting booth. The person will probably answer honestly based on what they're going to vote for that day. And those kind of polls are probably some of the most accurate polls we can get. But a poll based around something that like something stupid, like your ice cream example.
Whoa, that was not stupid, Ethan. It was a great example.
That poll, of course, will be.
It was important.
Don't
you need to know who likes what ice cream?
It was a very important poll. No, but that kind of poll will be different and be like a lot more subject to change than the presidential thing. So the people that believe in the polls can be trusted like to say, well, look at the entrance and exit polls from past presidential elections. Those have been accurate, so why are polls inaccurate? Those have been very accurate. They've pretty much projected the president would be based off of those. Though that's not always true for some examples, because after the 2016 election, the polls all stated that Trump was going to lose like 35% of the vote, and it was going to be a landslide for Hillary, and it ended up rather doing quite the opposite of that. So polls, while they have some basis in truth, like the entrance and exit polls do sometimes align with what's actually going to happen. Like, I'm sure if you took a poll back in like 1984 with Reagan versus Mondale, you would have got a very accurate representation of what was going to happen. But if you take a poll nowadays, it just depends on what the bias of the people is towards the politicians and all that. It's not a clear cut, this is the people's opinion, this is what's going to happen. It's just very odd, you know?
I see you threw a lot of historical examples in there for Miss Turkle.
It was not intentional.
Miss Turkle, don't let that win you over on this podcast. I'm the one in the right now, even though we have the same opinion. But that's besides the point. I see what you're saying, and I understand, like, not every poll can be trusted, but I think some of them, such as the Gallup poll, which is conducted very well and unbiasedly. Is that a word, unbiasedly?
Yeah, it's a word now.
It's a non-biased test for the most part. And you can understand how it may be accurate or inaccurate by the deviation, the standard deviation. So if you have one that's super high, like let's say you have a ton of people and your test just isn't accurate. You got like 5%, 5 points. How does that work?
There was one poll we looked at that had 5 point. Wasn't it? It was, I think it was the Washington Post had like a 9 or something. It was
interesting. That sounds pretty inaccurate then.
It was. It had that's a lot of bias and inaccuracy in it.
So I think when you're looking at that, that's another factor of whether the poll can be trusted. Now I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because we are approaching 9 minutes when we were supposed to do 7. But we wanted to make this entertaining. All of our research was supported, but quoted also, from the Pew Research Center and the Gallup polls themselves. Thank you, Miss Turkle, and all of our viewers and listeners. We will be seeing you. Yes, of course we have listeners. We're really popular. Ethan,
of course.
We have like 80,000 Instagram followers on our joint account.
Oh yeah, we just can't tell anyone about that account.
We can't tell you guys about that. Thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed evening, morning, lunch. Ethan, say goodbye.
You want me to say goodbye?
Say goodbye.
I never want to say goodbye.
Goodbye.